are learning Rambam, and we're concluding today the laws of Maicholos Asuris, prohibited foods. Then we go into laws of Shchita, slaughtering. Well, okay. Chapter 17. When the meat of a nevela, remember, is an animal that was not slaughtered properly. It was either killed by another animal, right? Or it was slaughtered not properly, as opposed to treif, which means an unhealthy animal, right? We use the word treif to kind of include everything, but in halachic terminology, there's a distinction. Or a crawling animal or a teeming animal was cooked in an earthenware pot. So now the discussion is about the utensils, the implements that we use, and the effect that something that's not kosher has on that implement. Right? Here we're talking about an earthenware pot. One should not cook the meat of a ritually slaughtered animal in a pot on that same day. So kosher meat, ritually slaughtered animal, meaning kosher meat, right, can't be cooked in that pot the same day. This is the biblical law we're talking about right now. If you cook the type of meat in the pot, the dish is forbidden. If you cooked it within the 24-hour period. If you cooked another substance in it, it is forbidden if its flavor can be detected. Right? This is something that we've spoken about in the past, right? That tasting, if it has imparted its flavoring, that which is not kosher, right? So then it's not kosher. So now remember, what we're talking about is, you've got your earthenware pot that is clean. It doesn't have in it something not kosher. Where is it not kosher? In the walls of the pot. So the first 24 hours, biblically, if you cook in there, anything you cook is forbidden. Right, exactly. All right. Now, if you cooked another substance, meaning not meat, here we're talking about some kind of meat that previously had meat, right? And since it's one meat and another meat, so you're not going to be able to detect a impact of it. But if it was another substance, let's say you cooked in here porridge, right? That's another substance. Then if you can detect the meat in the porridge, right, then it's forbidden. Which, of course, you can't taste it. You have to give it to someone who's not obliged in these mitzvahs. Someone who isn't Jewish isn't obliged to fulfill this mitzvah. And therefore they could taste it for you and let you know. The Torah forbade only the use of the pot that was cooked with the forbidden substance on that day. Ben Yoimeh, it's called. For in that time, the flavor that the fat of the fat absorbed in the pot had not been impaired, right? It like you have frying pan, and you after you fried something and you clean the pan, there's still something absorbed in there that is not impaired for the first 24 hours, right? According to rabbinic law, one should never cook in it again. Never. In this earthenware pot, right? So in this earthenware pot, you cooked non-kosher, something not kosher. Biblically, only for the first 24 hours. Rabbinically, never again can you cook in this. For this reason, one should never purchase used earthenware utensils from non-Jews, from Gentiles to use them for hot foods, pots and plates, right? This applies even when they are coated with lead. If one purchases such a utensil and cooked in it, from the second day onward, the food is permitted. So if you did, the food is permitted because it's a rabbinic law, right? shouldn't do it, but it is permitted because we're not talking about that there's food in the pot. We're talking about only what's in the um in the material itself that was absorbed. Right. So from the second day on, you shouldn't, but it is permitted. Okay. The following rules apply when a person purchases metal. That was earthenware, because earthenware is porous and therefore never cannot be koshered. And that's why we didn't speak about koshering the pot. Right. Now we're going to speak about that. Why? Because we're speaking about metal or glass dinnerware you purchase it from a non-Jew, from a Gentile. Right. Utensils that the Gentile did not use at all should be immersed in the waters of the mikvah. Afterwards, are permitted to eat and drink from them. So there's a separate mitzvah of taking utensils and bringing them to the mikvah. Mikvah is not about making it kosher because something was absorbed in the walls of the pot, but it's a general other mitzvah of making it now holy for the Jew to use, or that you could be used, rather, not holy. I don't know, holy is not the right word, but so if it belonged to a non-Jew and it wasn't, you bought it in the store, for example, all you have to do is take it to the mikvah. You don't have to kosherize it. Utensils that are used for cold food and drink, cups, flasks, and pitchers, you should wash them thoroughly and immerse them after they're permitted. Okay. Why? Because, for example, a pitcher that only is used for water to be put at the table. So that since it's nothing hot, and through heat transfer is how the food would become absorbed in the walls of the container. Well, if it's only cold that it's being used, then it's not a problem. The problem would be is that if you have a dishwasher or in the sink, you wash together those things together with other things, that there was non-kosher foods, right? Then that would be a problem, which usually today does happen. That would be a problem. But let's say, it never was used in anything or washed with anything that was not kosher, then it's not a problem. It doesn't become unkosher. It has to go to the mikvah, but that's a separate mitzvah. Yeah. Now, utensils that he used for hot food, large pots, kettles, and pots used to heat food, should be purged through Hagala. Hagala means that you take a bigger pot, put water in there, bring it to a boil, and then immerse that smaller pot and kettle or whatever. And just as it was used through water, it was used, you used through some liquid to cook. So and that's how it got absorbed into the walls of the pot. When you put it in boiling hot water, then it's taking out that which is absorbed, extracting that which is absorbed, and therefore makes it kosher. And of course, immerse in the mikvah. Afterwards, they are permitted. Utensils that are used by exposing them to fire, spits and grills, should be exposed to fire until they become hot. White? Not earthenware, no. Right. Talking about metal now. And their outer surface falls off. They may then be immersed and become permitted to use. So depending on how you cook with it, so if you have a grill and you cook the meat directly on it, it's not through a medium of a liquid. So then you have to extract the non-kosher in the grill, for example, by using hot fire, white fire, then it will extract it. And once it's extracted, then after it's immersed, it becomes permitted for usage.
White fire.
Yeah, not red fire, white fire. Well, white fire is much hotter, right? L'chaim, yes. Okay. How is the purging process of Hagala achieved? Okay. We mentioned now he tells us a small pot is placed in a large pot and then filled with water until the smaller one is submerged. Then, by the way, interesting. Let's see what the note says. By the way, you don't have to submerge it all at once, but it all has to be submerged at one point, right? Then one must boil it very thoroughly. If a large pot was forbidden, one should play. Now, what happens if you got a lot? You know, this is a huge pot, and you don't have something larger to put it in. And what are you going to do? Right? We have set aside a specific kosher pot, a large one, but sometimes you have a large pot that doesn't work. So what you can do is as follows. You can place dough or mud along the edge so that it will fill it with water, so it will flow over the edge when he then boils it. So you actually create a greater, periphery, the lip you create by putting dough or mud over here. So you can fill up water more so that it's going to boil. And then when it boils over, it's going to then boil over it and it's going to submerge the whole thing. Right? In all instances, if you use them for boiling, water in them for hagala, washing them thoroughly, making them white hot, or immersing them, the food is kosher. For any fat absorbs in them imparts an unpleasant flavor, as explained. So again, in all, as he said, in all instances, right? If you used it before you did this process of hagala, right? Because we're talking after 24-hour period, since what it's imparting is an unpleasant flavor, right? The food is kosher, even though that's not the way you should do it, right? Not appropriate. The immersion of dinnerware that has been purchased for non-Jews to allow it to be used for eating and drinking is not associated with ritual purity and impurity. Instead, it is a rabbinic decree. One second. So it's a rabbinic decree that you take it to the mikvah to make it a transference of into the hands of a Jew to be used for, one's divine service of God. There's an allusion to this um, as, that describes Moshe instructs with regards to the spoils taken by Midian. Everything that can be passed through fire should pass through fire and it will become pure. According to your tradition, we learn that the verse is speaking only about purifying the utensils from non-Jews cooking, and not from ritual impurity, right? And in other words, what's in the walls of, non-Jew who has this pot and cooks with it, again, they're not obliged to keep kosher. And therefore they use non-kosher meat. It's perfectly okay. But then for the Jew to purchase it or have it gifted or whatever, it becomes a problem, right? But it's not about ritual impurity. It's about the fact that there's something not kosher absorbed in the walls of the utensil. So, but the verse says, and it will become pure, right? So it's alluding to for there is no ritual impurity that is dispelled by fire. All of it is impure, essentially impurity through immersion. The impurity stemming from contact with the human corpse is dispelled through sprinkling of water and ashes and red heifer. There's no concept of fire employed in this context. Rather, it is employed with the regard to purification from non-Jew cooking, since the verse states, and it will become pure. Sages said, add to it another dimension of purity after passing it through fire to cause it to be permitted because of contact with non-Jewish cooking. So after you've purged it from the non-kosher, right, which is not ritual impurity, it's an impurity, but not a ritual impurity. It's a right. Ritual impurity is kind of more of a spiritual thing. This is more of a physical reality. There's something not kosher absorbed there, and you're not allowed to have that. So then the ritual impurity, the sages say, so add another form of purity to this stage. Our sages obligate this immersion only for metal dinnerware utensils that were purchased from a non-Jew. When, however, a person borrows such utensils from a non-Jew or a non-Jew left him such utensils as security, right? In other words, they still belong to him. It's not necessary to wash them thoroughly, boil them, or expose them to fire. He does not have to immerse them. Similarly, in other words, it's only if you're going to use it, you're going to have to. If you're holding on to it, nothing wrong holding on to some belongs to a non-Jew that's not kosher. It's that using it becomes the issue. Similarly, if one purchases wooden or stone utensils, not only necessary to wash them thoroughly, boil them, or expose them to fire. Similarly, earthenware utensils need not be immersed. If, however, they are coated with lead, they are considered as metal utensils and require immersion. Right.
But they're also porous.
Right. Yeah, we're talking about now immersion in the mikvah. So it seems that we still that these things we still do, even though Rambam says not. I think I don't know what the halacha or that's what we seem to do. So I'd love to continue, but I can't.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi. Have a good day, everyone.